Wake up with Patti Katter.
I love the show.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
I turn it on and turn it up.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to and watching Wake Up with Patti Katter. I am very thankful to have Dominic on the show today. Dominic actually has quite the story that we're going to get into in a moment, but I did have to say that years ago, I used to go on ride-alongs with his dad, Ruben. I served on the Saginaw City Police Department Reserve Unit for a few years and was very happy about that time there. I spent a lot of great times in Saginaw, and about a few months ago, I read something that one of my old police friends wrote on Facebook. And basically it was that Dominic, Ruben's son, was in the hospital and he was really struggling with COVID. But before we jump into his story, I just wanted to introduce Dominic. Dominic, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Actually, I tried to listen to a few of your guests before I got on here to see what kind of, I'm a cop, so we do our research, a little bit before we talk to people. And some of the people you have on here, that the one guy in the military who was burned. I mean,
yeah.
To consider me amongst a man like that, that is a hell of a more of a badass than anything I have ever accomplished or ever will accomplish in my life. So to have me amongst people like that on your platform, it's very humbling and it's very honorable, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, Dominic, 28 years old, first of all.
28.
And you've been through so much more than I can even imagine. So I've had a lot of guests on my show that have been through a lot of different trials. Yours is definitely unique. And we can't really compare stories with other people very well, but we can always say that we have trials in our life. And
Absolutely.
Those of you who are listening might not realize that Dominic is also a police officer. He followed in his dad's footsteps. Dominic, could you tell us just a little bit about that? Because really, I have not seen you since you were a tiny little kid, and you probably didn't even remember me because it has been so long since I've seen you.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that a lot from a lot of people. My dad is very, very respected man, and rightfully so. If I could fill one of his shoes, I'd be proud of myself. I grew up around police. I grew up around that atmosphere, that culture, that lifestyle. So people always ask, well, you must have wanted to do that, because that's all you saw all the time. And actually, it's quite the contrary. No, it's not, because it was so normal in a part of my life to see police cars in the garage and to play with the lights. And, my dad was a canine handler, so the police dog would come, and that was my pet. Like, that wasn't a cop dog, that was my pet. And, the cop car that my dad drove was not a police car. That was just my dad's car. And it just happened to be decorated with fancy stuff that I like to play with. So I never really gave a thought about being a cop really too hard, probably until I was about 21. And that's when I decided that this is the route I wanted to go to. And it really started with the fact I went to Western Michigan for college for 2 years. And I say that very loosely because I was very immature at Western, and I was not mature enough to handle that environment. And I was essentially wasting money on an education I wasn't getting because of I was not disciplined at that age. I wasn't. It's simple as that. And I'll be honest with everyone, I wasn't disciplined, and I had to call myself out, and I said it's time to go home, and I moved in with my parents, and I got a job doing security at St. Mary's. I just wanted to get something on my resume that had some sort of law enforcement type responsibilities that came with it, Mm-hmm. So that was my step in there. And then I went to work for corrections at the Saginaw County Jail. And I did that for about, I can't remember, a year and a half. And then when I started the security thing, my whole goal was to become a police officer. And then finally the city was sponsoring, and I jumped on the ball, and I worked hard for it. I worked hard, and, people will say, oh, daddy got you in. Yes and no. Yes, because my dad's name goes a long way, and he earned that. He earned that. I've always been known as Ruben's son, and that's okay with me because my dad is an honorable man. And like I said, if I could fill one of his shoes, I would be happy. So yes, a little bit, Daddy got me in, but I also had to live up to that name. So there was added pressure, when I was in the academy. And I'm not going to talk about the academy like it's some buds, SEAL team group thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that. But, there were people and instructors, and they're familiar with my dad, and people at the department that had expectations of me because of my dad and the career he had. So there was pressure. At least I felt there was pressure, added or extra pressure on me to perform well and to be a good cop. And I'm not a veteran cop. I mean, I only have almost close to 5 years on. Obviously, in the city of Saginaw, 5 years there is adds up a little bit different to a quieter place. But yeah, I'm not a vet by any means. I'm still learning and itching to get back. But yeah, my passion was fitness. It still is. Exercise science is what I wanted to get into. It's what I did get into at Western, and I found out I wasn't good at the science part, but was really good at the exercise part, and I didn't need a brain to do that. So I continued just to exercise, and again, I my first semester was really good. I had good grades, and again, I just got undisciplined, and I had to call myself out. I had to check myself, and I had to come home, and I had to reevaluate my life and figure out what I was doing with it. And I decided that I want to be a cop. And I've met some great guys as well, some lifelong friends that I'll have from doing this job because, I'm sure like, your husband being a cop and being in the military. I'm not in the military. I haven't been. My dad was. But there is that sense of brotherhood you get a little bit. But I also believe it's important to live outside of that brotherhood as well and not completely consume yourself in the identity of a cop or military, because once you lose that, you don't know who you are anymore. And that's kind of a battle I'm having right now with myself from going to a able body, in shape, 28 years old, young cop, on the SWAT team. I'm not trying to talk myself up. I'm just trying to tell you that,
No,
that
that's
was
true.
what my life was. And now it's, I hope I can, make it up the stairs and keep my oxygen above 90 sat levels. So yeah. So it gets demoralizing. So it's important, I think, for anybody in the tactical field to have an identity outside of what they do, because you can't do it forever. You can't. Your body won't let you. And it's just a fact, and you see it. And I'm sure you've seen it with people you've talked to on here, and seen it with your husband. And you can't just solely. Be proud, but don't wear the badge every single day. And that some people, that might piss some people off. You're a cop full time 24/7. Yeah, you are, but also have different friends too, and a different group of people that you grew up with that reminds you that the world is a different place than what you're perceiving it at, because all we see is shit every day. And so it's important to have people that don't see that and don't view the world like that, to keep you grounded, in keeping you on the straight and narrow, so that your mind doesn't go in such a negative place. And my mind has gone there, and it was going there before all this happened to me. I never would thought that, and this is where I told you I was going to bring up three things that I wanted to say before we really got into it. The first thing is I have no political agenda with this podcast. COVID is a huge hot topic right now, and trust me, there's no one more that hates COVID than me and my family, and any other family that's been affected by this. But I'm not here to tell you to stay in your house and lock the doors and Lysol everything. That's not what this podcast is for. I'm not here to tell you and we talked about this before the show. I'm not here to tell you to mask up. That's not what I'm here to do. You do whatever you want. That's what's great about this country, is you can do whatever you want. So I'm not here to tell you to mask up. I can tell you, don't come over to my house without a mask. You're right. I can tell you that. Don't come around my family without wearing a mask. But if you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. Don't wear a mask. If you want to go out and do something, go do it. If you feel safer at home, stay at home. I'm not here to scare people about COVID. That's not what it is. I simply am an ordinary man who went through extraordinary circumstances, and that's it. I'm not here for people to. This isn't a wake up call. This is wake up to Patti, not wake up to COVID, right? I'm not here to scare people about COVID. Again, there's no political agenda behind this. This is about struggle and life-changing events and stuff that we can all relate to. And as I was telling you, I believe in podcasts. I'm a huge fan of podcasts because it's authentic, and I'm also not doing this for attention, because when I got home, there were like 3 or 4 news media outlets that reached out to my family to interview me, and I declined all of them. I went as so far as my sister calling the newspapers and removing my name out of the papers because I didn't want it in there. One, for safety reasons, obviously, because of the culture that's in law enforcement right now. And 2, there are way better men and women out there than me that deserved a second chance at life that didn't get it. I am not special at all. I'm not. I'm lucky. I'm lucky, and God was on my side. So I'm not here to be in the spotlight. I'm not here to be famous. I'm not. None of that whatsoever. I told you before we started the show that for a long time I believed that you should suffer in silence, and a lot of men believe that, suffer in silence. But no, I'm not here for any of that attention. Like, I appreciate all the support and love and the prayers. I mean, it is a very tough time in the world right now, extremely, for everyone, not just for me and my family, for everyone. So for those people who do end up listening to this, that do know me and know what happened, or reached out to my family, or reached out to me, that sent my family food, money, anything, whatever you did. I mean, you didn't just take time out of your day. You took time out of your day in a crazy time in life, Everybody's dealing with shit right now. And for the fact that strangers took time out of their day to give to me and my family, I want to be public with saying thank you to that. And I want to be public in showing that I'm still working to get back to my job, and that I'm still working to recover. And getting out of the hospital was a huge win. I mean, that's a great victory. But it was just a battle. I haven't won the war yet. There's still a lot of battles going on. So that's, I'm not trying to make this a Grammy speech or anything, but I do want to thank I do want to thank everybody who continues to pray for me and support me. And lastly, and certainly not leastly, I don't know, much about your fans or followers or base, but I am a firm believer in God, and that is why I'm here today. So if you don't believe in God, I'm going to refer to him quite a bit in this podcast, so you might as well just change the station. But I'm telling you, he's real. And it goes as far as it's family members that I have not seen and spoke to. And I don't even know if I've met them. In the Hispanic culture, it's not uncommon to have cousins that you've never met. So there's family members that literally had visions of me, visions, okay, not dreams, visions of me and God with a message. And there's things that they could not have known. They could not have known those things without a higher power. It's impossible. I'm not making this up. No, I'm not on. It's not the meds that that they gave me from the hospital. This is all real. So God is real, and I'm here because of God. And if there's one thing this world needs right now, it's more of God, and it's more of mental health information. And I believe in podcasts because essentially what it is, it's a therapy session. But for the people that don't want to go to therapy, you can watch somebody else speak what you feel and get that advice that you need. And then maybe even get the courage to go to therapy and talk to somebody if you need help. So that's what this is about. It's about struggle. It's about seeing that end of the tunnel there, the light at the end of the tunnel. That's all I want this to be about. I really want to reiterate, I am an ordinary man that went through extraordinary circumstances, and there are way better people out there than me who deserve a second chance at life. So I just want to be clear about that's my agenda here, is is not to make this about me. And so I'm sorry for the long speech, but I had to say that.
No, do not be sorry. And I have to say that I do think you are very special. And I think that you obviously are here for a reason. And I think that the reason that you're still living is so that you can encourage other people. You just gave a message that was incredible. And not only that, after 14 years of military advocacy, you are the first person that ever came onto my show to tell our listeners, don't get wrapped up in one bubble because you're more than just a police officer. You're more than just a military veteran. That's a huge message because there's a lot of struggle with people who are unable to finish their career or people who are in between careers because of a health issue or any other issue. So thank you, Dominic. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are losing their identity right now because of lockdowns and their jobs and maybe it's a little bit more stronger in the tactical community, first responder community, just because of the stuff that you see. But yeah, you have to have an identity outside of that, and I'm not saying I've found that yet. I'm saying I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just at the point where I realize that that you have to find that. The doctors have said that I should be able to go back to work with the grace of God, fully back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I won't believe it until it happens.
It'll
So
happen.
I appreciate that, but I'm really trying to keep it in the back of my head, that if I can't go back to work, even though they're saying that I will be able to, that if I can't, that there's still a life to be lived. And unfortunately, if it's not in police work, I don't know what it will be, but I just at least have to recognize that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you have a really good message to share, so I think you need to do that at least part-time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So one of the questions that I have is, so you're living life, you're a police officer, you're a badass police officer, you're on the SWAT team, you're going full blast basically with physical activity. And then what, just one day you just start not feeling well, or?
Well, I appreciate that compliment. Thank you very much. But there are some true badasses at my department, more so than me. I don't consider myself amongst that, but I do appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, I don't know the days. I get them mixed up. But I believe it's a Wednesday. And things were kind of starting to close down at this point. COVID was here, but people didn't know what it was. And I remember working out at the gym in our department and with one of my buddies, and just like right in the middle of the workout, I was done. I'm tired. Like I'm physically exhausted. I feel like I just did a 5-hour workout, and I've only been doing it for 30 minutes, and it wasn't even anything that bad or crazy. I do get into some crazy workouts and stuff like that, but it wasn't one of those. It was just something, I just wanted to get a workout in. And that it struck me as odd, but it didn't alarm me to anything. So I went home and I stopped. I stopped because it was to the point where I couldn't do it. So I went home and I went to bed, and there was I got up to work the next day. At this point, I'm up in our detective bureau.
Mm-hmm.
I was a detective when this happened. So I went back to work the next day, and it was the same old stuff, same work routine. And it was I guess like right before I left, maybe 2, 3, 4 o'clock, I started to notice like a tingle cough, kind of in the back of my throat. And I have really bad allergies. So I didn't think anything of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But as the hours went, it got worse, like dramatically fast. The cough did. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Because this is really kicking pretty quick. So I went to the store and I got a thermometer because I was familiar with COVID. And me, with my dark sense of humor, I said, a virus all the way to China. I mean, sure, why wouldn't it find its way in my house all the way in Saginaw? What are the odds? I get that COVID. Yeah, like that's got my name written all over it. Jokingly, because I'm a smart ass. And so I went and got a thermometer, and I'm messaging friends, and I'm like, hey man, I think I got COVID. Not like jokingly. I'm just like, I'm at the point where I'm a little worried, but I'm still not sure what I have. Like if I had the flu or what. But so I'm taking my temperature like every 30 minutes, and it's going up to the point where it gets to like 103.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay, it was something like 100, 300. It got in the hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, something is obviously wrong. So I texted my family and I said, hey, my family, I'm very close to my family. I had amazing parents, amazing sister, all that. I texted them. I said, hey, don't come over, because they'll stop by sometimes unannounced, bring food. That's just how we are. I said, don't come over. I was like, I think I have COVID. And of course, nobody knew anybody with COVID at this point. So my parents are like, no, you don't have COVID. It's okay. They're just being supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I really think I have COVID. I've never had the flu before, so I don't know what the flu feels like. But I can tell you what that felt like. And if the flu feels like that too, that sucks. So for anyone who gets the flu bad too, I guess I feel you on that. But when it really struck me is that when I was laying there, I was hot, I was cold. It felt like I was sick. I had some sort of respiratory thing going on. The drainage, the cough, the body temperature was high. I had all that stuff you get when you're sick. When things really got worrisome is when I got the body aches. I have never had something completely take over my body like that in my entire life. When I would walk, my legs would shake so bad I couldn't balance when I walked. And that's when I knew something was wrong. And on our SWAT team, we have 2 ER physicians that roll with us when they can. For us, and if there's an officer involved shooting, for us, and for whoever is on the other end of the gun, basically. So they roll with us, and they also they're very helpful with us in our personal lives. If we need advice or anything like that, they don't care if we text them or anything like that. So obviously, my family physician doctor is 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's going to answer. So I texted one of the doctors, and again, I'm not going to say names, but
Mm-hmm.
I texted him and I said, hey doc, I'm pretty sure I have COVID. And he told me to come in the morning and he'll give me a flu test, because at that time to get a COVID test, you had to actually have like a script wrote from a doctor. Like there was no like test on hand to do it. So it was so new. So I went there, and I went to the hospital. I went to Covenant. And drove myself there. I walked in, and it was weird because they already had the tents out and stuff, like the COVID test tents.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just eerie. It was like, man, this feels really weird. And I remember walking up to one of the nurses, and of course, I know all these people, most of them from having to bring people in the hospital for my job. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I think I have COVID. And doc, so-and-so, who they know, it said to come in. So and I thank him because there was no lines for me or anything like that. I went straight in the room, and he saw me. He took my oxygen, my saturation, my oxygen sat levels were 100 still.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he goes, man, you probably have it. And at that time, and still too, this is treatment, but at that time it was go home quarantine
Mm-hmm.
and monitor your symptoms. And if your breathing starts to go, you need to come back in. That was what the treatment is. And I'm not saying it was a wrong treatment. I'm not saying that at all. That's just what we knew at that time.
Right.
I don't remember if he gave me something or if my doc, I don't remember. I think I may have got like a Symbicort inhaler or something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Something, maybe a Z-Pack I think I got too. But the fact of the matter is it was too far into my body for any of that to even kick in. So I went back home, and of course, now I'm starting to get paranoid, because I'm feeling my body deteriorate, and then this is where things get blurry for me, where the days do. I remember going and getting a test. Like he wrote me going back to the hospital, and I think doc ran me out a script to go get a test, to go through the drive-through test off Lapeer Avenue in the city. And so I remember trying to get ready and just walking to my truck, and I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe doing that, and mind you, a week before this, I'm doing 2-hour workouts. An hour of it is cardio, and then I go to walking I don't have a huge house or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm losing my breath, and now I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to get some anxiety about this. So I go get the test, and then of course there were some issues at the test. I don't know I don't remember, but they couldn't do the test right. I don't know what happened, but I ended up getting a freaking stick up my nose. And so I went back home, and I don't remember if I went to back to the hospital the day I got the test or the next day. I don't remember. That's why I have to ask my family sometimes about this, because things start getting blurry. I don't remember what I did, but it got to the point, whether it was the day I got the test or the next day, where I needed to go to the hospital. I knew that my breathing was going, and I didn't have a pulse ox or anything at home to measure it. So that's when I got concerned, and I couldn't call 911 for two reasons. One, I didn't think it was an emergency, and I didn't want to call and tie up their line. Two, I couldn't talk because I would lose my breath. So I texted one of my buddies from the township police department, and I'm going to leave his name out of this too, but I said, "Hey man, can you give me an ambulance?" And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "I think I have COVID, and I can't breathe, and I need an ambulance." And he's like, "Well," he's like, "All right, yeah, dude, I got you, man." And he's like, "So they're coming lights and sirens. I can hear them." I'm like, "Dude, you didn't." I didn't get mad at him, but I'm like, "You didn't have to do all that, man. I just, he's like, dude, he's like, you couldn't call 911 because you can't breathe. He's like, you think I'm gonna not get them here fast?" He's like, "You're going." And then I get in the ambulance, and of course I know the ambulance people too, and this is where things start getting blurry. So I know the ambulance people too, and I told them, I'm like, "Hey man," I'm like, "Dude, just don't even get by me. Like, I'm fine." I'm like, just go sit up in the front, wear a mask. I don't want to get you guys sick. I really don't. So please don't come by me. And they're like, "Dom, no, come on, we're gonna take care of you." And if I remember correctly, they took my pulse ox, and I'm pretty sure at that point I was in the 70s. And I think normal range is anywhere from 94 to 100. So the COVID had hit my lungs at that point. I don't remember going through the ER. Apparently, when I was walking out, I remember packing a bag to go to the hospital because I knew that I wasn't going to come home. I didn't know that it was going to be 85 days, but I knew that I wasn't going to come home. And so I packed a bag, and apparently, I don't remember this, but I'm a big metal fan, like music, metal. So as I'm walking out of the garage, I threw up the horns to my buddy who called the ambulance for me, and I got in, and I don't remember going through the ER and I walked through there so many times to work. I'm very familiar with the structure and layout of it, and I don't remember any of that part at all. And mind you, I'm not on any medication. I'm not sedated. None of that has happened yet. I think just the being deprived of oxygen, I started to become foggy. The last thing I remember, and I was still up, if I understand correctly, from the last thing I remember, I still was up for another day after that, but I do not remember that day. But the last thing I remember is I remember going into this room. It didn't look like a normal hospital room. It looked almost like a lab, like a science lab, from what I remember. And there was like a plexiglass board, and on the other side were people with that they could look at the machines and stuff. And I had a male nurse, and I don't remember his name. He was a pretty cool guy or anything like that, And I don't know if you're familiar with sorry if this grosses people out, but the puke bags that are in the hospital, the blue okay, so basically they took that, not that itself, but something similar like that, and they put it over my mouth and nose.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was for. I think it was to get air into my lungs because my lungs were collapsing, and it was bad. And I could see the panic on them because I know what that looks like, and I could see the panic on his face. And that's when things hit me, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And I looked at that nurse, and I don't remember what exactly I said specifically, but I just looked at him, and I basically said, "Look, man," I said, don't mess with me. Like, don't play around with me. I said, "I need to know." I said, "Am I going to die today?" Like, that's what I asked. I said, "Am I going to die today?" And the last thing, and he may have had a different answer, but it's fun. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. He may have said something else. He may have said, "No, man, you're good. You're all right." I don't remember him saying that. The only thing I remember him saying is, what's your emergency contact information? And I'm like, I'm like, I'm dying. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, if you want, I'm like, well, let me use the phone, like, then, so I can call my family. You don't need to talk to him. Let me call him. But that's the last thing I read. He, like I said, I don't think he meant anything bad by it or anything like that. And he may have said, no, you're going to be okay, but I need your emergency contact info. I just don't remember that part. I only remember hearing, I need your emergency contact information. And that's when really got real for me. Like I don't know what it was, 2018, 2009, it was 18 or 19. I don't know, one of the years. I'm not going to get too into detail with this, but that's actually 2 years or 3 years. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but that's when I had my first close call with death. My partner and I were involved in a shooting, and I made some tactical errors that haunt me to this day, that I'm not proud of myself for, and I think I could have done things better. We all made it home. So I guess that's what matters. And I thought I did what was right at the time, but I still question some of the things I did. But basically, what happened is this guy, I was engaged in a foot chase, and this guy knew where I was coming from, and he was waiting for me, and I was an open target, and he shot at me. I don't know how many times. And that's as far as I'll go into that as far as details, but I was a wide, clear target. Clear as you and I are right now, maybe 25, 30, I don't know, yards. I mean, when you get in moments like that, your memory gets a little blurry, but that was my first encounter with death. But what was different about that, and what's different about this is my encounter with death then is it's not like I looked forward to that moment, a big gun battle or nothing like that. I didn't even shoot back. Okay. And that's for different reasons for later, but it happened so fast that you didn't get a chance to reflect on what just happened, because there was still work to be done. I mean, that ended up turning into a 7-8 hour standoff. So there wasn't really time for me to reflect on how lucky and how much God was on my side. And I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole here, but it all connects. But the day that happened is actually the patron saint day of St. Michael. The patron saint of police officers, is the day that had happened to me. And then a year before that, I was in a really bad car wreck in a car chase on the same exact day, St. Michael's feast day of patron saint police officers. So it's like the past 4 years, I'm keep getting these close encounters with death, and I never had a chance to reflect on that until this one right now, until COVID. You would think, being involved in gunfire would be traumatic, and it was. Don't get me wrong. The tunnel vision, your ears, the sound being minimal, all the memory loss, all that's real, definitely. But this COVID stuff, being in the hospital like that and just not being in control is really what made me reflect on life and death. That is the first time in my life that I ever could reflect on death, and it really, really, it really did something to me, and that's still in the process right now, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I haven't won yet. Like I said to you before, I made it out of the hospital, but I'm still dealing with a lot of stuff upstairs, and I'm thankful I have such a supportive family and people, just supportive loved ones that I have that are helping me and everything like that. But and again, this is why I agreed to do this podcast, because of the struggle. And this is the first time in my life that I've had to actually reflect on my short life that I've lived. I'm 28. I'm not very old, but I've actually had to reflect on my life for the first time, and ask myself, why am I here? Why is God giving me so many chances to get out of and come, what? You know what I mean? I'm not mad at him for doing it. I'm so thankful. It's almost pressuring. It's very pressuring to me, because I feel like I have to live up to something that he has a plan for me. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the plan is. And it's mind boggling. It really is. It's mind boggling to, I mean, there's not a day since I've been home that I woke up in my bed and wondered why did I just wake up? Like, why did I just, why? And not from a victim mentality, literally me trying to figure out, why am I here? And why has God allowed me to dodge death like this so many times? And each incident has gotten worse. So I'm really nervous about the upcoming years. As far as what's going to, like, I don't know if this is a lesson. I don't know if I'm not doing something right in life. If this is like his wake up call to me, like, hey, you're screwing up, man. You need to get on the straight and narrow. I don't know what it is. And that's another a fight in my mind that I have right now, as far as why I am here in life. And COVID is just the how. It's the how we got here. It's the how of this podcast, but it's not the why anymore. The why is me.
I think the why is, from my viewpoint, third party, totally haven't seen your family in many years now. Your why is your message. It is strong. I know men who are in their 60s and 70s, and they've had a cakewalk life and haven't been able to help anybody. You have a very strong mentality. You have a very strong belief and a very strong message that's important for people to hear. I believe that's a big why. COVID is COVID. It's not a good thing. It's very it's a popular topic right now.
It is. It's a popular topic. It's a hit song, basically.
And, because of that, though, your why message is going to go far because people are interested in it. So you might not understand it now. You might not understand it for 5 or 10 years or longer. But looking back, you're building connections right now and bridges, and you're going to be amazed, I think, at where you're going to end up.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good. So at Covenant, they basically were not able to handle all your healthcare needs. Do you remember transferring from Covenant down to, was it U of M?
U of M. Yep. Nope. I do not remember that. Apparently I had a discussion with my doctor. So my family doctor, her and her husband are both doctors. She has their office and he does the hospital stuff if one of her patients goes to the hospital. And luckily for me, he's a pulmonologist. But so, he's familiar with the lungs things. And I want to give him a lot of credit because in a world full of egos, he set his aside and said, we're not capable of handling this right now here. For whatever reasons, I don't know. I'm not in the medical field, so I'm not going to speak about it. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reasons, he put everything aside and focused solely on me, my life, and my family's life, and made the decision that I needed to go to U of M. And the initial goal was for me to be put on ECMO. And for those, honestly, I don't even really know what ECMO is. All I know is it's a big long freaking hose tube that goes like in your neck, and it circulates. It makes your body work for you. Your body's running off a machine. That was my last hope of living, was ECMO. And I was supposed to get, from what I understand, flighted there from a helicopter. But I don't know if it was like inclement weather. This is in March, so who knows what it could have been doing then. I don't remember, but this was in March. But I didn't go in the helicopter. I did get transferred in an ambulance, and my boys and girls took care of me and did a police escort for me. So I also want to thank them and my work family. They really came together and showed me my family a ton of love. And if there's one thing I will promote about the brotherhood, and as far as the tactical community goes, is that we do take care of our own. And I'm so thankful for them. I really am. I mean, they truly took care of my family. So, but yeah, I was taken to U of M, and I think I was intubated at that point already. And that was it. That was 53 days. I think I was intubated 2 days or 1 day before my dad's birthday, which I felt freaking terrible about, that I couldn't be there for my dad's birthday. What a terrible gift. And then, the next month, his own dad passed. My grandpa passed when I was in the hospital. And so then, my dad had to deal with that too. And I just felt terrible that I couldn't help anyone in my family that was helping me. So it was it still is a rough time for my family. Just a lot of happened, and again, it's not a victim story. It's just, it's just how it was. I don't remember those 53 days I was asleep. I had no visions. I had no dreams. Nothing. I don't even remember the day I woke up. I do remember, for whatever reason, when I woke up, well, not for whatever reason, I was on a ton of fentanyl and Versed and all those other sedatives. I remember, I thought I was in Canada. I don't know why. Never been to Canada. Never really been interested in going to Canada. But that's where I thought I was. And I remember waking up and it looked like stormtroopers were in my freaking hospital room, because they had these white, the mask are on, and then they have these white inflatable gowns that are pumping oxygen in so they can breathe. Mm-hmm. And these people are all around me, and I'm just like, what is going on? I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, what is happening right now? Where am I? Mm-hmm. Why Canada got in my head, I don't know. But after I found out I was in Ann Arbor, I was like, why am I in Ann Arbor? Who took me here? Why? I didn't, last time I checked, I didn't call an Uber to go to Ann Arbor. And that's when the doctor came in. I don't know if it was that day, but that's when the doctor came in and explained to me what happened. And basically, from what I understand, is I got two double bacterial infections of pneumonia on top of the COVID in my lungs. My lungs collapsed 6 times. And I had 6 chest tubes in me, and those chest tubes were to keep the fluid outside of my lungs and to keep my lungs inflated. And basically I was dying. And during those times I was asleep, my parents got some phone calls that, my family got a couple phone calls that basically in layman's terms said, I'm not going to make it through the night. And that's tough to see my family in that position, and not being able to help them. Excuse me, but I woke up and it was just weird. That's the only way I can describe it. It was just weird what had happened, and I couldn't see myself. Mind you, when you're on a vent, your body loses a ton of weight and a ton of muscle. And I was 195 pounds when I went in there. I'm not like a pro bodybuilder or anything. I wasn't, but I was in good shape. I took care of my body. And when I woke up, I couldn't see myself. So I didn't know what had happened to me physically. From as an appearance standpoint, the first time I had 3 clues and one hit me the most, but the first one was usually when I have to, and this is going to sound egotistical, and I don't mean it to, it's just what happened to make me realize what had happened to me. Mm-hmm. But usually when I go to the doctors, they have to use the big blood pressure, the bigger size on me because of my arm size. And I remember looking down at my arms and they were so small. I mean, they were the size of my wrist. And I'm like, what the hell? It still wasn't, nothing was clicking yet. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I knew it doesn't, because there was no mirrors, I didn't. And this whole time my family's FaceTiming me, but I'm so out of it. I can't even talk. And that's another thing too. When I woke up, I was trached. I couldn't talk, and I couldn't text because I couldn't hold a phone in my hand because my hands were shaking so bad. I had no form of communication. I couldn't write. My writing looked like shit. So I'm trying to tell the nurse that I need this and that and all this stuff. And God bless them for dealing with me, because I was getting so pissed off because nobody could hear me, and because I couldn't talk, and then I can't write, and then I can't text, so I can't do anything. So finally, it's just like, screw it, I don't want anything. But yeah, this whole time, my family's FaceTiming me while I'm even when I was in a coma, talking to me. But yeah, that the cuff thing, that's when I noticed that. And then the second time was when the doctors came in and they said, okay, we're gonna try to walk today. And I remember asking, what do you mean we're gonna try to walk? Why do I need to try? Like, I can get up and walk right now. And they're like, well, your muscles are gonna be a little weak from what just happened to you. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm like, and I remember I couldn't even get up. I couldn't lift my body up to even get out of the bed. And that's when things hit me. And that's when I knew that seriously, something was wrong. And that I essentially, that's when it hit me that I almost died. And I thought I still could have died. I thought I was still dying. I don't know if I was at that point. I don't know. I have no idea. Things were looking better, obviously, because I came off the vent and all that stuff. But yeah, that, and then the first time I walked, my doctor, and God bless her, she's a saint, just a motherly figure. And one of the nurses I had too, I won't say her name, but you also have to understand, during this my 85-day stay here at this hospital, I wasn't allowed visitors. It was lockdown mode. I couldn't see my family. And coming from such a close-knit family, I have no complaints about my childhood whatsoever. I am blessed with an amazing family and amazing parents, and a sister and so many others, aunts and grandparents. But I couldn't see them that whole time I was in there, and that killed me. That was the hardest part. I've never felt loneliness like that in my entire life. And God bless all the nurses there, and even the ones that are still out there, and the medical staff. That these people are they're not only playing roles of medical, like they're not just playing medical roles now. I mean, they're essentially representing family to these people now, because they can't see their own, and they have to be there, that voice of a family that they can't see. So they're playing two roles. They're not just in there, pushing meds through an IV and checking your stat levels. These doctors and nurses and all these healthcare workers, they're not out here just doing their job. They're doing beyond their job. And part of that is they're playing the role of a family member to you, because you can't see yours. And that's what I think people forget about this lockdown and these restrictions. I mean, family support is just as much as important. Your mind is curing your mind and healing your mind is far more important than the physical medicine that goes in your body during any critical illness, any whatsoever. So I can't say any names, but one of the nurses, and people who know me will know which nurse this is, but she was my she was my, sorry, I told you to edit this part out, didn't I, Patty? She was my saving grace in there, man. She it's funny. I'm not gonna say how or anything, but magically somehow I woke up one day from the hospital, not from my coma, just I woke up from sleeping, and I had a surprise, and that surprise was my parents. And yeah, she that's the strength I needed to get through, was to see my parents, and she made that happen. And I remember I felt so guilty because I missed Mother's Day, and she went out and got a card for my mom for me to sign, and it was just, I've never seen such care like that, especially for me, because, you know, I didn't deserve that shit at all. One bit. So it was very touching and humbling for what she did for me. And her and I still are in communication today. And so that was hard, you know, not seeing my family. I could start to see my family I think it was the last 10 days of my hospital stay. And but that whole time I only saw my family like up until the restrictions were lifted, up until, I mean, I only saw them twice. That's it. And man, that was hard as hell. The loneliness was just, God, it was just terrible. It really was. I mean, I've never been in that dark place in my mind ever in my entire life. It was to the point where I was begging the doctors to just let me go home and die with my family. That's all I wanted to do. Like I didn't care about making it out of the hospital. I didn't give a shit about any of that. I didn't want to be better. I at this point I accepted defeat. I accepted the fact that I'm done here on this earth. And I wanted to be with my family when that time came. And but you know, they didn't give up on me. And I, man, it just, you know, my parents didn't give up. Nobody gave up on me. I mean, I woke up to, when I finally was able to have my phone, I woke up to about, I shit you not, to about 126 text messages. And I just the support. And then, you know, when my dad showed me the video of the vigil they had for me on Hoyt Park, I mean, just hundreds of people. And I was like, why? I was so confused. I didn't understand why anybody would do that for me. I couldn't understand it. I mean, I cried to my dad. I told him, you know, I said, I don't want anyone to do anything else. I don't want anything. I don't deserve any of this. There's just so, and I know I'm going down so many different directions, but it's just all coming back. And, you know, I just remember, when I first was able to start to walk, I had to use a walker, but, when I was first cleared to leave my room, because I didn't have COVID anymore. I was no longer contagious, or whatever you want to call it. I had PT, and I had a great physical therapist who she whooped my ass, and she needed to. She put my ass into gear and put my ass in a check, and she made me work. And I thank God for her. And same with the nurse that I spoke to you about too. You know, I wanted the lights off, the curtains down. I didn't want light in my room. I wanted everything. I just wanted to quit. That's all I wanted to do is quit. And the biggest struggle in life, I think with people is, it's not quitting. Quitting is very easy to do. You just stop what you're doing and you're done and you quit. But when you want to quit and you don't know how, it's so mind-boggling. And then that's where I was at in life at that point. I wanted to quit so bad. I just wanted to go. I'm not saying like I was suicidal or anything like that. I just wanted to be done with I was sick of being in that place. I'm thankful for them and all they did for me, but my God, being in a hospital for that long, and I just wanted to quit, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to quit. And the reason I didn't know how to quit is because that's not me. And there's people out there that want to quit, and they're asking themselves why they can't quit. And the answer is because you're not a quitter. And that's as simple as it gets. And you need to dig down deeper and find out what makes you push. And for me, it was my family. For me, it was picturing my family at my funeral, and my mom crying and my dad crying. And I couldn't do that to them. I put them through enough already from the hospital. So I couldn't do that to them. I had to make it out of there. And I remember one of the doctors came in, and so basically how it works is there's a one doctor. They have terms and names for this. I don't know what they are. Like the fellow, I don't know. It sounds like some Lord of the Rings stuff. But so my main doctor has a team, and the team consisted of like 5 or 6 docs. Some of them were residents, some of them, I don't know. They were consistent. So I would see different doctors all the time. Not often, but every time I did it was a different doctor. And as I got close to time to being discharged, and as I became a little bit more active, and I was my trach was getting downsized, I was able to talk again. I was able to pass my swallow test so I could drink. Actually, a funny story. The nurse that I talk about that I love so much, when you're trach in when you get out of event, you can't eat or drink. And I kept seeing this commercial of the Simply Juice like watermelon, and I'm like started getting pissed. I'm like, I swear this, like, somebody's just messing with me. I'm like, I am so thirsty right now, and nobody will give me anything to drink, because if I swallow it, I could I don't remember the term for it, but it can basically I could get fluid around my lungs again, and they could collapse. So I tricked her into giving me juice, and I told her that I had a spitter, like a spit thing, and I told her that I would spit it into it. And I didn't. I swallowed the juice most of the time, and but I was so thirsty. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going before this?
I love it. Well, we're just talking about how you wanted to quit. You didn't know how to quit.
Oh yeah. When I first could walk, and when I was not contagious, they took me out in the unit. And mind you, this is the University of Michigan. This is Michigan Medicine. This is a huge hospital. So the unit floors have hundreds of rooms. So my walk to exercise, my trip was around the unit, and there were only 2 people awake in that unit.
Wow.
So every time I walked by a room, all I saw were people dying with tubes in their throats. And that's when I really looked at myself, and I said, and a lot of those people didn't come home. And that's when I looked at myself and I said, you have to do this for them. Not like we're like in some battle together or like battle buddies or anything like that, but these people want life just as much as you do. And you can't disgrace them by feeling sorry for yourself. There's actually there's a really, you might be familiar with this guy. His name is Ryan Hendrickson. He'd be a great guy to have on your show if you can get him. He wrote a book called Tip of the Spear. I actually haven't read it yet, but he's on Mentors for Mill podcast, and he's on Jocko Willink podcast. And he got blew up in the Middle East. He stepped on an IED, and then the dude went back a year later and blew up more IEDs himself and got into more gunfight. He's a badass dude. Anyways, when he was in the hospital, he said that his dad gave him some advice, basically a quote. And this is where I'm at in life right now, and this is where I was at when I was doing my walks around the unit to for my rehab to get better. And this isn't a quote, but this is a summary of what he said to him. Basically, his dad said to him, he said, son, he said, you can let your incident for him being injured in war, or in my case, almost dying from COVID, you can let that be your identity. You can be that guy if that's what you want, right? I can be that COVID guy. I can be the face of COVID if I want to, right? I can be that victim of COVID. And he told him that you can be the victim of your injury, and you can live your life like that your whole life, and you can use that excuse for everything you want for the rest of your life. I can use that excuse for me. I don't want to get up and go work out today because, I got COVID and I got muscle myopathy, and, it just sucks and it hurts. So, I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't get up and go work out because I deserve a rest. And he said to him, you can use that line. You can do that. You can live your identity through your trauma. He said, or you can overcome it. You can overcome that trauma, and you can look back on what you accomplished and be proud of that, and instill that in others. And that is the reason why I agreed to do this podcast. And I've been looking for the words to say. I literally just watched this podcast last night. Honestly, I just happened to stumble across it, and he said that, and I was just like, shit, that's where I'm at in my head right now. That's the struggle. That's where I am. Is I don't want to be a victim, because being a victim leads to entitlement, and that's not who I am, and that's not what I want. I want to fight for everything that I have in life, just like anybody else. I don't want sympathy. I don't want any of that at all. I don't. Again, as I said before, I appreciate all the support. It means the absolute world to me. And the reason I post stuff is to show people that I am not wasting their prayers, and I am not wasting the time that they've spent on me. That is all. And I think that Ryan Hendrickson, I think he said it, his dad said to him, was perfect. And then whenever you're ready, there's another guy that I wanted to quote to. I wish I could take credit for something so well said, but I just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I mean, right now the battle's not over. I'm sure we could do a part 2 as far as when I'm recovered, but I'm off oxygen for the most part. When I sleep, I use it. I'm off a lot more meds now. I'm a lot more mobile. My workouts are intensifying. And literally just 5 months ago, it was, I couldn't take without my oxygen dropping to 70, and my dad having to wait outside. My own father having to watch his grown 28-year-old man take because I could fall or slip. Obviously, it's not so much it's not dehumanizing to me. It's my father, but it's demoralizing. But here I am 5 months later. Nobody's home with me anymore. I don't need 24/7 supervision. I just did my first hour cardio workout last night with no oxygen. It's not a workout that it's not hard by any means to me. It's not something that I would consider hard before this. But I'm progressing. And it's important for people to reward themselves with small victories, because yes, it's important to keep the overall big picture in mind and their overall big goal, but at some point you have to recognize the progress that you're making. So, for people that are struggling, I guess, with anything, I mean, not even just COVID, but whatever. I mean, it's all relatable. I mean, if you woke up that day and you're looking in the mirror at yourself, you just won something. You won. So be proud of yourself, for that, because that in and of itself takes something. My struggle is no worse than anyone else's. The appearance of it may look worse because of all the tubes and scars I have on my body and then my background in law enforcement. The appearance of all of that may look really worse, but it's all the same. It's all the same. The struggle is all the same, and we can all learn from each other's struggles. And again, that's why I did this podcast. This is free therapy for people. This is free therapy. You don't have to go. I'm not discouraging people from doing therapy whatsoever. I think therapy is a great thing when you're linked with the right person. But this is free therapy. You can watch somebody speak for yourself and say, that's exactly how I feel. And wow, that's the answer I needed. And that's why I believe in podcasts. And that's why I agreed to do this and not do a freaking 2-minute news station. I don't care. I don't like the media. I'll say it right now. I don't. I'm not a fan of the media. They spin stories and all this other stuff. I won't get into political stuff, but I'm not a fan of the media. And you're not gonna present anything to the world. The only thing you're gonna get a glimpse of in your 2-minute story bit of me is poor me, poor Dom almost died. And that's, I mean, it's true, but that's not what I want to be known for. I don't want to be known for COVID. I have a ton of life left. I don't want to be known for COVID. But if I can help somebody get through a tough day, maybe that is my why. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I don't know if you have any more questions, but this is the last quote I'll say. And this is by another a military guy. He's on Instagram. His name's like Wolf X Machina. I don't know his real name or what he did. I think he was in some special operations group. But he said something. I'm pretty sure it was his quote. And it describes perfectly where I'm at in life right now with this, with what I'm going through. And I think it can apply to everybody that's going through something. And what he says, I understand myself only after I destroyed myself. And only in the process of finding myself did I find out who I really was. And that's where I'm at right now with life. Because I've been destroyed. My mind and body has been broke. And I'm not saying I did it to myself, but I have been destroyed. And there are people out there that are destroyed. They are in their darkest places. And that's who you find out who you are. That's really who you find out who you are. So it's bad. Trust me, it's bad. The mental struggle is tough. It's a terrible, terrible thing because the enemy is yourself. And the worst thing about you being the enemy is you know all your weaknesses. So you know what's going to get you. And that's what sucks about fighting yourself. But the beauty, I guess, on that side is that you really find out who you are. And that's something to be proud of. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I'm saying I recognize that process is there. And I hope that other people can recognize that as well, is that there is that process. Because I literally went from, sure, you can call it like, no, I'm not like SEAL Team 6 dude or anything like that. But yeah, I went from a high-speed job in getting an adrenaline rush every day to being laid up and being unable to do anything. I'm just here. I'm a silhouette. And that's mentally challenging. And again, that can be applied to anyone. So I'm still looking for my why. I'm still looking for my why as far as why God allowed me to be here today and all the other days I've got close to death. But if this is my why, if why is helping people get through stuff, then that's what I'll do, and I'm proud of that. But again, it's not for fame. It's not for. I would not go through this again if you said I would be famous or anything like that. Never. I would go through it again for my family so they didn't have to. But I would never. If you said, Dom, you'll be the most famous, richest person in the world if you go through this again, my answer to you would be, that's what it would be. Because there's no way in hell I would. So it's not for that. I'm trying to find a way to utilize my downtime. And if that means helping people that can relate to this or any mental health problem, then that's time well spent. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's all. And that's why I agreed to do this. That's it. Not for any other reason.
I know it. And that makes you so much more incredible than you already are. Like, I can't even tell you, Dominic, you're motivating, you're inspirational, and not everybody can just turn a really hard trial like that into a triumph. And I really believe that you're working on that and you're doing a great job. And
Thank you.
My word, your parents must be so, so, so proud of you.
I hope so.
It's not every day that you get a child that just loves his parents so much.
No, there's a ton of broken families out there, and and I'm so blessed to not be a part of that.
You are so incredible, and it's no wonder. I know your dad. He was incredible when I knew him, like all those years ago, and
Right.
The apple has not fell. I can't even talk after you. Like,
I know what you mean. Thank you.
Didn't fall far from the tree.
Thank you so much.
But thank you so much for sharing your story. I definitely do want to do a part 2 because I firmly believe that you're just going to keep getting better and better. I'll also say you posted a video, I think it was last night. I might not have seen it till this morning, but of you working out, doing cardio, and you like showed the treadmill, you showed your oxygen pulse. And I was just like, at that point, I was debating if I was going to do my workout this morning, but then I saw your video and I'm like, oh crap. If he did it,
good.
like, I need to get out and do that. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that was
awesome.
very, very motivating to me. And
thank you.
You're just incredible. And like I said earlier in the show, I do think you're special, and I do think you have a huge why.
I appreciate that.
So I love your just an incredible person. You're lucky I'm not right there because I'd give you a big, huge hug.
No, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you very much. It's very nice to have been hearing nice, encouraging words lately, especially in a time and place in the world where that's not too common anymore. So it does mean a lot, and literally those words got me through, along with the medicine, the doctors, my family, everybody, my loved ones, everyone. That is what got me through this. That's it. I've said it already like 3 times, but I'm an ordinary man who went through an extraordinary circumstance, and that's it. That's as simple as that.
Oh, you make it sound so simple, but it's incredible. It's truly incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening. I'm not going to have a long ending to this podcast. I want to leave it as is. I want to have Dom back on the show again for a part 2. I want to see him, moving forward in his physical therapy, and I'm excited to hear more about your future and what you're going to be doing, because I know it's going to be phenomenal. Thanks, Dom.
Thank you so much, Patti. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Wake Up with Patti Katter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
Follow Patti at Patti Katter on Facebook and Instagram.
Get social.
You can now watch Wake Up with Patti Katter on Amazon TV and Roku.
It's the only podcast I listen to.
Be sure to check out Patti's apparel line, The Patriotic Mermaid, at thepatrioticmermaid.com and on social media at The Patriotic Mermaid.
I love it.
Special thanks to Patti's content creator, Alicia Thompson.
Thanks for all that you do.
Visit thompsoncreate.com for all your marketing and design inquiries.